I'm sitting in the manager's office holding a black credit card that has no limit, and I'm the only person in this restaurant who isn't losing their mind. Through the glass door, I can see the entire staff freaking out. Maria's crying into her apron. The kitchen guys stopped cooking, and they're all huddled by the dishwasher, talking fast in Spanish. Even Mr. Chen, who owns this place and never gets rattled, is pacing around making phone calls with his hands shaking. But me? I'm just sitting here, calm as anything, staring at this piece of plastic that's apparently worth more than this entire building. Lily, you need to understand what just happened, my manager Derek whispers, his voice cracking. That man who left you this card? He doesn't give gifts. He makes investments. I know exactly who he's talking about. The Korean guy in the expensive suit who sat at table 12 for 2 hours, barely touched his food, and watched me work my entire shift. Never said a word to me directly, just observed, like I was some kind of science experiment. I need to call the police, Derek continues, reaching for his phone. This is way beyond what we can handle. Don't. My voice comes out steady, controlled. Don't call anyone. Derek stares at me like I just sprouted wings. Lily, that card isn't just money, it's ownership papers. Do you understand what that means? I understand perfectly. I understood the moment his driver handed me the envelope, the moment I saw the card and the note written in perfect English. For services to be determined, consider this a retainer. But here's what Derek doesn't get, what none of them get. 3 hours ago, I was a broke college student working double shifts to pay for my mom's chemo treatments. My world was falling apart and I was drowning in bills I couldn't pay. Now I'm holding the solution to every financial problem I've ever had. Why aren't you scared? Derek asks desperately. Why aren't you running? Because running means going back to watching my mom die slowly while collection agencies blow up my phone. Because running means accepting that some people get saved and some people don't. And I've always been in the second group. Until today. The black card feels warm in my hands, like it's alive, like it's calling to me. Through the window, I can see his driver still waiting by the black sedan. Patient, confident, like he knows I'm going to make the choice they want me to make. He's still watching, Derek whispers. Even now, he's still watching you. I look up at the security camera in the corner of the office, the little red light that I never paid attention to before. Now I wonder who's on the other side of that lens. Wonder what they see when they look at me. A desperate girl with limited options, a chess piece that can move around the board, or something else entirely. Lily, Derek grabs my arm. Whatever you're thinking, don't. There's always another way. But that's the thing about desperation. When you're drowning, you don't ask questions about the rope someone throws you. You just grab it and hope it's strong enough to pull you out. I stand up, slip the card into my pocket, and walk toward the door. Where are you going? Derek calls after me. I turn back to look at him one last time. This man who's been kind to me, who's tried to protect me, who has no idea what it's like to choose between your soul and your family's survival. To find out what services need to be determined. You know that moment when someone offers you everything you've ever wanted, but you know there's a price you can't see yet? When desperation makes impossible choices look reasonable? If you've ever been so broke, so scared, so out of options that a deal with the devil started looking like salvation, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the person throwing you a lifeline isn't trying to save you, they're trying to own you. And the worst part? You might just let them. 20 minutes later, I'm standing in the back of his sedan, and the most dangerous man in the city is looking at me like I'm a puzzle he's trying to solve. He's younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that should be on magazine covers instead of FBI wanted posters. But it's his eyes that get me. Dark, intelligent, and completely unreadable. Miss Park, he says, and his English is perfect. No accent at all. You came. Did I have a choice? Everyone has a choice. The question is whether you understand what you're choosing between. The driver pulls away from the restaurant, and I watch my old life get smaller in the rearview mirror. Derek standing in the doorway, probably calling the police despite what I told him. My coworkers clustering around the windows, trying to see where I went. None of them understand that I'm not being kidnapped. I'm being recruited. Tell me about your mother, he says suddenly. My blood turns to ice. What about her? Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 3 months to live without experimental treatment. Treatment that costs $400,000. He opens a folder on his lap. Treatment that your insurance refuses to cover. How do you know that? I know everything about you, Lily. Your mom's medical records, your student loan debt, the fact that you've been working 70-hour weeks and still can't make ends meet. He closes the folder. I know you're drowning. So what do you want? I want to throw you a lifeline. And what do you want in return? For the first time, he smiles. It's beautiful and terrifying. I want you to be yourself. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're going to get right now. The car stops in front of a building I've never seen before. All glass and steel, reaching into the sky like it's trying to touch heaven. The kind of place where people like me don't belong. This is your choice point, he says. You can get out here, walk through those doors, and discover what your life could look like with unlimited resources. Or you can ask my driver to take you back to the restaurant, and we pretend this conversation never happened. And my mom? If you go back, she dies. If you come with me, she lives. It's that simple, that brutal, that clear. I look at the building and then back at him. What's your name? Does it matter? It matters to me. Jin. My name is Jin. Okay, Jin. What happens if I walk through those doors and discover I can't do whatever it is you need me to do? Then you leave. With enough money to save your mother and start over anywhere in the world. And if I can do it, then you become someone you never imagined you could be. I reach for the door handle, then stop. Jin? Yes? What made you choose me? Out of everyone in that restaurant, everyone in this city, what made you decide I was worth investing in? He's quiet for a long moment, studying my face like he's memorizing it. You were kind to an old man who couldn't pay his bill. You gave him food from your own money when you thought no one was watching. You showed grace to someone who couldn't do anything for you in return. My throat tightens. That was you? That was my grandfather, and that moment of kindness you showed him. That's worth more to me than you could possibly understand. I get out of the car and walk toward the building. Toward a future I can't imagine and can't escape. Behind me, I hear Jin's window roll down. Lily, he calls softly. I turn back. Welcome to your new life. The elevator to the top floor takes 47 seconds, and in that time, I realize I've made a deal with someone who owns pieces of the world I didn't even know existed. Jin's office isn't just big. It's a statement. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the entire city spread out below us like a map. Art on the walls that belongs in museums. A desk that probably costs more than most people's cars. But it's the wall of monitors that makes my stomach drop. Security feeds from dozens of locations. Restaurants, hotels, shipping yards, even what looks like government buildings. All of them connected, all of them reporting back to this room. Impressive, isn't it? Jin says, noticing where I'm looking. Terrifying is more like it. Same thing, really. He walks to the windows, hands behind his back. Do you know what I do, Lily? I'm starting to get an idea. I solve problems. People come to me when the system fails them, when the law can't help them, when they need justice that doesn't exist in courtrooms. He turns back to me, and something in his expression has changed. Less gentle, more business. Your first problem is waiting downstairs. My first what now? Problem. The reason I brought you here. The service that needs to be determined. My hands start shaking. Jin, I don't know what you think I can do, but... A woman named Sarah Kim, 23 years old graduate student. 3 days ago, she was attacked by a group of men outside her apartment. The police say there's insufficient evidence to press charges. He slides a folder across his desk. Inside are photos that make me sick to my stomach. Hospital records. Police reports marked case closed. The men who did this, they're connected to people with influence. People who make problems disappear. What does this have to do with me? Sarah's downstairs right now. She's been waiting 3 hours to tell someone her story. Someone who might actually listen. You want me to talk to her? I want you to do what you did for my grandfather. Show grace to someone who needs it. I stare at the photos, at this young woman's beaten face, at the police reports that basically say her pain doesn't matter. And then what? Then you tell me if you think she deserves justice. The weight of what he's asking hits me like a truck. You want me to decide what happens to the people who hurt her. I want you to tell me what your conscience says. Nothing more. Nothing less. And if I say she deserves justice, then she gets it. What kind of justice? Jin's smile is sharp as broken glass. The kind that makes sure they never hurt another woman again. I close the folder, my hands trembling. This is what you do? You play judge and jury? I play the role the system refuses to fill. And you want me to play it with you? I want you to be my conscience, Lily, to help me separate the people who deserve mercy from the people who don't. What if I'm wrong? What if I misjudge someone? Then we're both wrong together. Through the window I can see the city stretching out forever. Millions of people living their lives, going to work, paying taxes, trusting that the system will protect them. But some people, like Sarah Kim, learn that trust is a luxury they can't afford. She's waiting. Jin says quietly. I think about my mom in that hospital bed. About the experimental treatment that could save her life. About the choice between staying pure and staying alive. Okay. I whisper. I'll talk to her. Good. Jin presses a button on his desk. Send her up. As footsteps approach in the hallway, I realize something that changes everything. I'm not just deciding Sarah's fate, I'm deciding who I'm going to become. Sarah Kim sits across from Jin's desk, and looking at her is like looking into a broken mirror of myself. Same age, same desperate eyes, same understanding that the world isn't fair and nobody's coming to save you. But where I got offered a lifeline, she got silence. They said there wasn't enough evidence, she tells me, her voice barely above a whisper. Even though I had their faces on my phone's camera, even though the hospital documented every injury, not enough evidence. Her hands shake as she pulls out printed screenshots. 4 men, clearly visible, laughing as they walk away from the scene. Do you recognize any of them? Jin asks quietly. One of them works for City Councilman Park, another one's father owns 3 police precincts. Sarah's voice breaks. They knew exactly who to hurt because they knew they'd never face consequences. I study the photos. Study this young woman whose only crime was being in the wrong place when the wrong people decided to show their power. What do you want to happen to them? I ask her. I want them to feel what I felt. I want them to know what it's like to be powerless. And if that's not possible, then I want them to never do this to anyone else. Jin's watching me carefully, waiting for my verdict. Waiting to see if I can make the kind of choice that changes someone's life forever. Sarah, I say slowly. What if I told you there was a way to make sure they faced real consequences, but that those consequences might be severe? How severe? I look at Jin. He nods almost imperceptibly. Severe enough that their families would feel it. Severe enough that everyone they know would understand what they did. You mean destroy their lives? I mean make sure justice happens, even if the courts won't deliver it. Sarah is quiet for a long moment, staring at the photos of her attackers. A week ago, I believed the system would protect me, she says finally. I believed that if something terrible happened, there would be people whose job it was to make it right. And now? Now I know that some of us matter more than others, and I'm tired of being someone who doesn't matter. She looks directly at me. Do it. Whatever it takes, make them pay. After Sarah leaves, Jin and I stand by the windows watching the sun set over the city. How do you feel? He asks. Like I just crossed a line I can never uncross. Good. That means you understand the weight of what we do. We. You passed the test, Lily. Sarah's attackers will face consequences by tomorrow morning. Real consequences. Permanent consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that make the evening news. My stomach churns. Jin, they chose their fate when they chose their victims. You just helped me deliver it. He turns to face me, and in the dying light he looks almost vulnerable. Do you regret it? I think about Sarah's broken face, about my mother dying in a hospital bed, about all the times the system failed people like us. No, I whisper. I don't regret it. Then welcome to your real new life, Lily. The one where you get to decide who deserves mercy and who doesn't. He steps closer, close enough that I can see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. The one where you help me balance the scales. 3 days later, I'm watching the morning news and seeing what my conscience looks like in practice. Breaking news this morning. 4 men connected to sexual assault charges have been found beaten unconscious outside their respective homes. Police are calling it a coordinated attack. The reporter's voice fades as I stare at the screen. Sarah's attackers, all 4 of them, hospitalized with injuries that will take months to heal. Not dead, but broken in ways that will remind them every day what they did. My phone buzzes. Text from Jin. How do you feel? I should feel guilty. Should feel sick. Should be questioning every choice that led me to this moment. Instead, I feel something I've never experienced before. Power. Not the kind of power that comes from money or status. The kind that comes from knowing you can make things right in a world that's usually wrong. My mom calls while I'm getting ready for my shift at the restaurant. Lily, sweetheart, the most amazing thing happened. The hospital called and said someone made an anonymous donation to cover my entire treatment. All of it. Her voice is shaking with joy, with hope, with the first real happiness I've heard from her in months. The experimental therapy, the medication, even the recovery care. Everything's paid for. She starts crying. I'm gonna live, baby. I'm actually going to live. I close my eyes and feel tears running down my face. That's incredible, Mom. Do you know anything about this? Did someone at your work start a fundraiser or something? No, Mom. I have no idea. But I know exactly who made that call. Exactly who decided my mom's life was worth saving. When I get to work, Derek pulls me aside immediately. Those men from the news, the ones who got attacked, the police came by asking questions about you. My blood freezes. What kind of questions? Whether you knew Sarah Kim. Whether anyone suspicious had been in the restaurant lately. Whether you'd acted strange recently. What did you tell them? I told them you're a good kid who works too hard and minds her own business. He pauses. But Lily, they're going to keep digging. Whatever you're involved in, and it's getting dangerous. I'm not involved in anything. Then why did that Korean man's people come by yesterday asking about your schedule? The world tilts sideways. What people? Two men in expensive suits. Said they worked for a consulting firm and wanted to know when you'd be working this week. Said they might have a job opportunity for you. I spend my entire shift in a daze, going through the motions while my mind races. The police are asking questions. Jin's people are tracking my movements. My mom's treatment is paid for with blood money. And the worst part? I don't want any of it to stop. At closing time, the same black sedan is waiting outside. This time, I don't hesitate. I walk straight to the car and get in. "Hello, Lily," Jin says. "We need to talk." "About the police?" "About your future. You know that feeling when you realize you're not the same person you were a week ago? When your choices have changed you in ways you can't undo? If you've ever crossed a line that felt wrong until you saw the results, hit subscribe. Because sometimes becoming someone new means leaving someone old behind forever. The police investigation will go nowhere, Jin says as we drive through the city. But it's created a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where you can't go back to your old life. We're heading somewhere I've never been before, through neighborhoods that get more expensive with every block. Eventually we stop at a building that looks like a palace. My home, Jin explains as we walk through doors that probably cost more than my entire education. Inside is even more overwhelming. Art, marble, furniture that belongs in museums. But what catches my attention is the wall of photographs. Not family pictures, business photos. Jin with politicians, with judges, with people who look important and uncomfortable. "You're looking at my insurance policy," he says, following my gaze. "Insurance against what?" "Against the system deciding I'm expendable." He leads me to a sitting room that overlooks the city lights. Everything is elegant, expensive, perfect. But there's something lonely about it too, like a museum exhibit of how rich people live. "Tell me about your family," I say suddenly. "What about them? Do you have any? Parents, siblings, people who care if you come home at night?" Something shifts in his expression. "Why do you ask?" "Because this place feels empty. Beautiful, but empty." He's quiet for a long moment, staring out at the lights. "My parents died when I was 15. Car accident. My grandfather raised me after that, taught me everything about the business. He died 3 years ago." "So you're alone?" "I have associates, employees, people who depend on me." "That's not the same thing." "No, it's not." He turns to look at me, and for the first time since I met him, Jin looks vulnerable. "Is that why you offered me this job? Because you're lonely?" "I offered you this job because you have something I need." "Which is?" "A conscience, a moral compass, someone who can help me separate justice from revenge." He moves closer and I can smell his cologne, can see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. "But you're right about the loneliness. I've spent 10 years building this empire, and I've never had anyone to share it with. No one who understands what we do or why we do it." "And you think I understand?" "You saved Sarah Kim's attackers from what I would have done to them if you hadn't been there." "What would you have done?" "Something permanent." His voice drops. "Your mercy made their punishment justice instead of murder." The weight of that hits me. I didn't just help deliver consequences. I helped save lives. "Jin," I whisper. "Yes?" "When this started, you said I could leave any time with enough money to start over anywhere." "You still can." "What if I don't want to leave? What if I want to stay and help you balance more scales?" He steps even closer, close enough that I can feel the warmth from his body. "Then you become my partner, in business, in justice, in everything." "Everything?" "Everything." His hand comes up to cup my face, thumb brushing across my cheek. But understand what you're choosing, Lily. This life doesn't have normal relationships or normal rules. Once you're truly part of my world, there's no going back to being the waitress who just wanted to save her mother. Maybe I don't want to go back. Maybe you don't know what you're saying. Maybe I know exactly what I'm saying. He leans closer and I can feel his breath against my lips. Stay tonight, he whispers. Let me show you what your new life could look like. 6 months later, I'm sitting in Jin's office watching a man beg for his life, and I feel nothing. His name is Michael Chen, 43 years old, married, 2 kids. He's been embezzling money from a children's charity for the past 2 years. Money meant for kids with cancer, kids like my mom used to be. Please, he's sobbing, on his knees in front of Jin's desk. I'll pay it all back, every penny, just give me a chance. Jin looks at me. What do you think, Lily? 6 months ago I would have felt sorry for this man. Would have seen his tears, his desperation, his family photos on his phone and recommended mercy. Now, all I see is a thief who stole hope from dying children. He made his choice, I say calmly. Let him live with the consequences. Jin nods to his men. They drag Michael Chen out of the office, still begging, still promising to change. He won't die, but he'll never steal from sick kids again. You've gotten good at this, Jin says after the door closes. Have I? Remember your first case, Sarah Kim? You could barely speak when you recommended justice for her attackers. I do remember. The shaking hands, the guilt, the feeling like I was betraying everything I used to believe about right and wrong. Now look at you, Jin continues, coming around his desk to stand behind my chair. Calm, confident, decisive. You've become exactly what I needed. His hands rest on my shoulders, and I lean back into his touch. Somewhere along the way, this stopped being about business and became about us. Is that a good thing? I ask. It's a necessary thing. I stand up, turn to face him. In 6 months, we've brought justice to 37 cases the system ignored. 37 people who thought they could hurt others without consequences. Do you ever regret it? I ask. What we do? Do you? I think about my mom, healthy now, back to work, planning trips she thought she'd never take. I think about Sarah Kim, who sent me a thank you card last month saying she finally feels safe walking alone at night. I think about all the people who sleep better because we made their nightmares face consequences. No, I say honestly. I don't regret any of it. Jin pulls me closer, his hands on my waist. Not even what you've become. What have I become? Someone who can watch a man beg and feel nothing. Someone who decides who deserves mercy and who doesn't. Someone who's forgotten what normal morality looks like. He's right, and we both know it. The girl who used to cry over sad movies, who gave her last dollar to homeless people, who believed everyone deserved second chances, she's gone. In her place is someone harder, colder. Someone who understands that sometimes being good means doing bad things to bad people. Do you love me for who I was, or who I've become? I ask. Jin's answer comes without hesitation. I love you because you became who you needed to be. For your family. For justice. For us. When he kisses me, it tastes like power and guilt, and a future I never planned but can't imagine leaving. You know that moment when you realize you've become someone you never thought you could be? When survival changed you into a person your old self wouldn't recognize? If you've ever compromised your morals for someone you love and discovered you didn't hate who you became, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the most dangerous transformation isn't losing yourself. It's finding out who you really are when everything's on the line. What would you sacrifice to save the people you care about? Drop your answer below, but be honest. We've all got a price.